Hi, everybody. We're having kind of a rainy day, but that makes it a good day to stay in and stamp, right? So I started, of course, I did making holiday cards. And the first one I made, I used the old Boca set, and I'm going to show you how to do that in case you have it. But if you don't have that set, which had a kind of a starry and a circle, their background stamps. If you don't have something like that, you can absolutely make your own rectangle to use as a mask and do the card yourself. So, first thing I did was to take a rectangle die and just cut that out of a piece of paper that is 4 by 5 1/4. So it pretty much matched, whoops, that's going to be this one. It matches the size, that I wanted here. Now, could you do a square? Absolutely. Could you do a circle? Yeah, no problem. So I'm going to show you how to do these two cards. I think I'll start with, start with the Boca one first, since that's the one that I did initially. So if you will take, almost forgot to get a piece of paper out. Take your stamp, excuse me. Take your paper, actually. So we'll put the paper in here where we're going to want it. Let me make sure this is the right size. Yep. Just a regular front piece, 5 1/4 by 4. And I always, when I used this stamp set, I always did it on the Stamparatus, because if it doesn't turn out completely, if you've got a large area solid stamp, if it doesn't come out the first time, you can't go back and do it again unless you are doing it with a stamp positioner. All right. There we go. All right, so this one that I did, I used the Misty Moonlight, but I'm going to use, actually, you know what? I was going to do something different, but that's okay. I'm going to use Night of Navy. Okay, and then just ink up your stamp. Okay, and then I'm going to stamp that. Now that one's not too bad, but if you had empty spaces, you would need to do it again. So I always like to use the stamp positioner for that. But I was actually thinking that I also wanted to do it. You don't have to do it on white paper. So I was going to try it. Let me make sure I'm positioning this correctly. Yes. Also going to try it on a piece of blue. Sorry, balmy blue. And do the same thing. Okay, so all I'm trying to do here is to get a rectangle of color so that then I can go back and stamp something else on it or around it. Okay, that one came out pretty good too. All right, so I'm going to set that aside. All right. So the first one I did, of course, I stamped Santa and the palm trees here to make that into a Christmas card. But this design doesn't have to always just be a holiday card. But I thought for this one, I would show you that you don't even have to necessarily stamp. You can also use die cuts and whatnot, as long as you've got that background. I think this piece of paper is too big. Yep, I just pulled out a piece of navy and I didn't measure it first. Okay. So now I can add that on here. then instead of, if you stamp, you want to make sure that you stamp some that's off of that rectangle. And typically I stamp in black, although not always. But this one I thought, wonder if I added this tree die cut. See, and I could put that there, and then I could put a piece across there or a piece across here. So you could do the same thing. I thought that if I did it in white, actually, I gotta glued that down. If I did it in white, of course, the white tree wouldn't show up as well. But I could have done, sparkle paper or something else to make that pop. So as long as you've got something that's sticking out over the edges, that's what I think makes this technique work. Okay, so now let's say you don't have that bokeh stamp. All right, so as I was saying, you could cut a rectangle with a die, which is what I did here. Or if you don't have a die, you can either, on here, I just measured in 1 inch from all sides, and then I would use my trimmer just to trim out this whole part on the inside. Okay, so by doing that, you're just making your own rectangle. So if I hit the lens, I just wanted to do this right quick and show you it's not hard, and it makes you a nice mask. And I know that everybody doesn't have a big shot or doesn't have a rectangle die, even if you have a die cut machine. All right, so by doing that, see, then I've just made my own mask by cutting that out. Okay, but I'm going to use my my actual rectangle for this one. All right, so how are we going to do this? Well, I'm going to take a piece of white, basic white. Again, it's 4 by 5 1/4. And that's the thing on this. That's the only measurements that you have are the regular measurements for a card. So this is going to be 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. You go 1/4 inch smaller, and this one's going to be 4 by 5 1/4. And that's it. Everything else is just stamping on here. All right, so the reason that I cut the mask here the same size is so that I can get it centered. If this was smaller, it might be, or if it was larger, you might not be able to line it up as easily. All right, and then you can take some washi tape, or I'm taking this Post-it note, and I'm just putting that on there so that the mask doesn't move while I am trying to put some color on here. All right, so with the bokeh, again, we used the stamp to make the rectangle, but now I'm going to use my blending brush. All right, and you could also use very easily, some of the sponges. However you would like to put the color down, it's fine. All right, and I'm going to use some of the mango. This one's going to be a little bit darker, I think. I got that one big dark spot right there. Not on purpose, but it's okay. We'll work with it. And notice I'm just kind of holding it down as I go. All right, and then I came in also with some Calypso coral just to give it a little bit darker. And more of the corally. I'm sorry if you can hear my neighbors. They're out there hooting and hollering, having a good time. Good for them. I don't think you can probably hear them. All right, so I'm just putting some color down. Make sure you get good or right around the edges, because that's what's going to give you your definition for this. I'm putting a little bit of extra just because I got that one dark spot. So I'm going to get some other darker spots to go with that. Okay. So then because I wanted the drops, I just took my my ink, my watercolor brush and dipped it in water and then just flicked to get some drops on here. Now you can probably see as it, pick it up. You can see the drops, and the longer it sits there, you can see them getting lighter. Okay, just a little bit more here and there. Okay, and then once you let that dry, it will look like this, where I've got the white spots out of that. I just think that kind of gives it a cool look to be just a little bit more texture to it, I guess. Notice on these two that I did add a little bit of sparkle on all of them. You can't see it as well on this one, but I have the little snowflakes, just because then when you move the card, you know, you get that little bit of a sparkle. All right, so then when I take this off, again, I'm just using the Post-it notes to hold it down. I've got the nice front piece, see, that I can put right on here. So this time I thought I would stamp with the Friends Are Like Seashells. I just love this set. So we will pick a seashell. Maybe I'll do the sand dollar. No, that's not big enough. Always, I think I have everything ready. So if that's not big enough, then I'll change to a different shell. Let's see, I'll use this one. All right, and I'm going to stamp it over here because I don't want to stamp where it's still wet and cause this ink to run, because normally you're going to let it dry before you add anything else to it. And to be on the safe side, you can always use your stamp positioner. Hopefully this one will come out. Okay. And what do we want to say? Love you to the beach and back. How about that? Maybe not. Maybe Friends Are Like Seashells. You collect them along the way, because that's the one I can find. Luckily, when you're using the black ink, it makes it a little bit easier to see when you've got it completely inked. Okay, so then I'm going to just adhere that down here. And then I would add like 3 of the rhinestones. These are the champagne ones. They're probably the ones I use the most often because they seem to match everything. And of course, usually go with odd numbers. So you can see that just adds a little something to it. All right, so one more thing. This, like I say, this doesn't have to be a rectangle. It can be a square. It can be a circle. It can be a triangle, whatever you want to do. But I had shown you before that we had this mini messages stamp set that it stamps as one piece, and then you cut them all out. This fits on there and it cuts everything out. Well, they came out with a second one, matches the same die, called Mini Happenings. And you can see that one also. I think I've got it upside down. No, maybe I had it all right. But it matches so that everything will get cut out. Okay, so I cut out a couple of sets of those, and as I've shown you before, I leave those in here so that I can just use them when I find them. But I thought, oh, you know what? This is a really kind of a cool mask too. So I took it and just sponged the color on, again, 4 by 5 1/4. I lined up here because I wanted to go this way this time. Lined up there and just sponged my fresh freesia. Sponge that all in. Now we can adhere that to the front of the card base. It's just so easy because all you need are the card base and the one piece for the front. You don't have to worry about cutting anything else. Okay, so this is one of the sayings that came out of the mini happenings, the Friends Forever. There it is, right there. Okay, so I thought, well, you know what? I could put that inside of one of these, where that kind of gives it a mask. Even though it was cut out actually from right there, I could move that over there, but I still want to stamp something on here. So I thought I would use this flower. Now I can hear the phone ringing in the background too. Go. And I thought I'd just stamp maybe 2 or 3 of these flowers. There. There. And there. So this is overlapping a lot of those shapes, of course. And then I might just go ahead and pop this one up because you know I've been having this thing about dimensionals lately where I seem to be popping everything up. And I think I'm going to put it there. I can put it there. You know what? I think I like it here. And then again, because I like a little bling, I have the pearls out that I put in there. And I thought I would just add a little pearl to the inside of each of those flowers. Now you can probably hear them yelling. Okay, there we go. So I thought this made a really cool card. All you're doing is taking that negative image from the die cut. You could mask off as many or as few of these as you'd like to make, you know, multiples on the to sponge the color on. And then I just stamped the flowers in black. So that made a super simple card. Then I have, like I said, you can see now that's pretty much dry, how just flicking some water on there makes the circles. Let me go ahead and attach this. Should have done that before I added the rhinestones. There we go. So again, when you're stamping, you want to make sure that you're stamping off of the shape, whatever the shape is that you have put color on. Kind of making a mess here. This one was a holiday card, but instead of using, or instead of just stamping, you could also use a die cut to make that. And probably the piece, which I might do there. And then I could add a little bit of bling sparkle on that one as well. So I hope you try it. You can see how, I mean, super simple just to either stamp with the bokeh, or if you don't have that, make your own rectangle, either using a die or just cutting out a piece of paper yourself, sponging the color in there, tapping a little bit of water. This one I didn't even tap any water, and I think it's still, because you've got some gradations with the just sponging the color on. But I just think that turned out really well. So I hope you guys have a great day and you try the technique. Bye.